Good day. So in front of us, we have a one-point perspective setup and a question. You've got your auxiliary front view, your auxiliary top view. And what we want to do is we want to obviously get the final one-point perspective drawing over here. We need to understand that my SP, that's me standing over there looking at this object. All right, if that's the top end of my head, looking at this object, I'm going to be scanning this object, and that which I see, I will be able to draw over here. So I'm scanning it from the back end. I can see the side, and therefore I can also see the front end, but I will not be able to see from this angle the back end. Okay. All right. So we have a visual in my mind about what it should look like. What I've already done is I've now projected all the height information across. Okay. And I need to now just go ahead and project um, length information. Remember that your one-point perspective is a 3D object, so the 3 dimensions present in it must come from these two auxiliary views. Okay, so your length and your width or depth over here will come from your top view, and your height will come from your front view. Okay, now that I have projected this height information across and the length information down, I've got to go and find my template. So I'm going to place it in dots for you, just so that you can see it clearer. And ultimately, this has to end up over here. So there's an example of it. I'm going to therefore also apply the rule that if it's touching the picture plane, which means it's closest to me, it's the biggest it can be, I've got to go and join these dots, which means they've got to be drawn in final line. Okay, now that we have our object, which I call a template, I'm going to be joining it back to a vanishing point, but now we don't have a vanishing point. And in one-point perspective, we always remember that we're going to find our vanishing point above my stationary point and perpendicular to my horizon line. Okay, so I label it on my horizon line, not the picture plane. Please, the picture plane is a reference plane on which my auxiliary top view is resting. My horizon line, just like my ground line, are reference lines that my actual one-point perspective is going to be reliant on. Okay, so therefore, I'm going to go ahead and go and link the actual template to my vanishing point. And this is, if I push this object further and further away from me, that means the object is moving further and further away from the picture plane. It will vanish at the vanishing point, or get smaller and smaller until it does vanish at the vanishing point. All the hard work gets done. Connect all those points. And if I had to go and number them, 1, 2, which might sometimes help, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, projected up, the front end will be 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. And remember that I will have the same at the back. The same profile will be at the back. Right, so this one point over here represents 2 points, one directly below the other. Right, therefore you'll only see one point in your top view, but in my front view I can see both points. Okay, right, because of the kind of information that it's giving me. So this one over here is also 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8. You don't have to use numbers. I'll find it a little bit easier once it becomes more complicated, or that I have a complicated shape to deal with. Every number that is not touching the picture plane, you'll notice that I'm now joining it to the SP. But every number not touching the picture plane is being joined to the SP. All right, so the actual shape vanishes at some point, and the top view points that are not touching the picture plane, just like these ones in the front do touch the picture plane. All right, let's see what happens to those points that do touch the picture plane. Those ones in the front over here, they simply got dropped right down to the bottom. Okay, yet these points in the back here do not touch the picture plane. So we've got to get them to be represented on the picture plane by joining them to the stationary point, and where they cut, they get represented on the picture plane. This one here seems to fall in line with number 5 and 6, which works perfectly fine. Okay, back end of 7 and 8, let's follow it. Back end of 7 and 8, I'm going to project it down. That's 7 and 8 over here. If I follow those lines back, I'm going to find 8 down the bottom here, 7 at the top over here, and they get joined as well. Okay, so the back end 7 is over there, back end number 8 is over there. Right, if I wanted to, I could also label these ones. Then back end 5 and 6, I drop that straight down. Okay, and I find 5 and 6 going back along these two lines, so I join those two. Right, so number 5 will be up here, and number 6 will be over there. And I'll do the same with number 3 and 4. 3 and 4. And I only draw to where it needs to be. So over here, I've got number 4. And over here, I've got number 3. And number 1 and 2 already along this construction line. Number 1 going further back. But number 2 will be further down, which won't be seen. All right. So there's number 1. I know that number 1 will connect to number 3. Then it dips down to number 4. 4 will be connected to 5. Dips down to number 6. 6 is connected to 7. Dips down to number 8. All right, and that's what we're going to do now. 1 connected to 3. Dips down to number 4. 4 connected to 5. Dips down to number 6. 6 connected to 7. Dips down to number 8. Once I've got the back end or the profile in the back, I'll link it to the profile in the front. 8 is connected to 8. Let's confirm. 8 is connected to 8. 7 is connected to 7. 5 is connected to 5, and 6 is connected to 6. But I think we can see how this is meant to shape up just by looking at the 3D shape that I have in front of me. There we go. It's my 1-point perspective complete. Thank you for watching.